the Bench, the podcast for scale modelers, by scale modelers, all about scale models. And this show is being brought to you through the generous support of all of our Patreon supporters. For as little as $1 per month, you too can help support the show. Simply go to www.patreon.com/onthebench and pledge any amount from $1 per month upwards. Your contributions help with the running costs of the show and are greatly appreciated. The Scale Modeler Supply. Certified Australian made, Scale Model supplies a detailed range of premium acrylic paints that have been specifically developed to cater to the scale modeler. Designed to be used straight from the bottle, SMS paints have taken all the guesswork out of airbrushing. Simply shake the durable glass bottle and pour and spray for a fast-drying and extremely durable result. The ever-growing range of SMS paints will suit all types of model builders, be it military, train, car, science fiction or Gunpla. SMS premium acrylic lacquer paints will have a colour to suit you. The Scale Modeler is also your one-stop shop for all your weathering, brushes, masking, tools and accessory needs. SMS paint tools and accessories are available either directly from their website, www.scalemodeler.com.au, or through stockists across Australia, New Zealand, Singapore and the US. And as a special bonus exclusive to our On The Bench listeners, you will get 10% off by using the promo code OTB when ordering direct from www.scalemodeler.com.au. So go now. Go to scalemodeler.com.au. We know you won't be disappointed. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about multimedia kits. But in the meantime, in the studio, I've got Ian.
G'day, Dave. G'day, listeners.
And of course, Julian.
Good morning.
How are we, gents?
Not bad.
Yeah, not too bad.
You sound like crap.
Oh, yeah, I'm on the tail end of a nasty cold.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't like getting colds these days because as soon as you get a cold, you got to go get a COVID test. You know, these things aren't fun.
Oh, you poor thing.
Yeah.
But you're on the road to recovery now, which is
I'm
amazing.
slowly on the road to recovery, yes.
Oh, terrific. Well, we've got, before we dive into what you guys have been up to, we've got a horrible announcement, and that is the fact that we're not going to be going overseas this year to the Nationals in Las Vegas.
No. Thanks, government.
Yep. There's no way we can get all our shots done in time, and even if we did have our shots done, when we got back, we'd still have to go into quarantine for 2 weeks.
Yep.
At our own cost of $3,000 each.
Yep.
So it just ain't worth it.
Not worth it, unfortunately. We'll have to wait We'll have to wait till everything's starting to get a little bit normal, hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, it's not getting normal fast enough.
No,
it's
they're
not.
dragging their feet.
It's like we had our hopes up, thinking it would have been done by now, but or at least like it'd be a bit of a tight fit. But
Yeah.
nah, it's just not happening.
Someone got blood clots and then panic ensued and it just turned to garbage, didn't it?
Well, yeah. It's even if that hadn't happened, I think even if that was fine, you still wouldn't have. It still would have been too tight. The August is too soon. You know.
I mean, because I just had my first shot, and I've got to wait 12 weeks, 3 months before I get my second shot, which is going to be in June, and then the potential for us to fly out in August. I mean, you guys haven't even got your shots yet.
We haven't been notified that we can.
Only 3% of the Australian population have got their first shots.
That's it.
As we record today on April the, what is it? What's the date today?
17th.
17th.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even if we were, like, the whole country was fully vaccinated, it wouldn't make much difference because, just because you've got the shot doesn't mean you're not going to get it.
No, that's right.
Well, there's still a potential to get it, but very slim.
Yeah, but still, I mean, there's still going to be plenty of people getting it abroad. And then, like, what do you do? You attend, like, an international model show and you're wearing masks and all this sort of business, and then you probably get COVID from somebody in the hotel lobby, and then you have a miserable time on the way back.
Yep.
Let's not talk about it. It's too depressing, man.
It is.
It's just way too depressing.
Yep.
To be honest, I'm more depressed because of all the hiccups at breakfast prior to...
Oh, my
no,
God.
yes. It was disaster, wasn't it?
Well, it wasn't disaster. I mean...
Yeah, you
Dave
guys,
saved the day.
normally, like when we get here and we have breakfast before doing the podcast, it has like the feeling of like this smooth operation, and it's like it's the most delightful experience that Dave puts on for us. You know, it's almost like a cafe, you know, like the cafeteria in like movies, you know, with like the piano in the background and all that sort of nice hot toast and hot coffee. But my coffee wasn't actually that hot.
Well, because you left it sitting on the bench for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It didn't help.
And Dave was barely talking to us because he was distracted by the power issues that affecting his kitchen.
What happened was about half an hour before these guys rolled up, the power went off in the kitchen and the fuse kept tripping. And so we're unplugging everything, trying to figure it out on the phone, the electrician. And it's still not fixed, but I adapted and I overcame.
You did.
You guys still had a hot breakfast in front of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you didn't even have to drag out any camping equipment or anything.
Yeah. So there you go. Luckily, the stove's on a different circuit. So, anyhow,
Very much so.
so there's another cost coming up to get that fixed.
Yes.
Oh, I've just been hammered with all these different things I've got to fork out to fix. I mean, the car's due for a service. It needs new tyres. I've got a new land suite, and the feet didn't come. The correct sort of little feet that the couch sits on didn't come. We had new blinds come, and there's a hole in one of them, so I get that replaced under warranty. I've just been going on and on and on, man.
Wow, Murphy's Law has been hitting you hard, hasn't it?
God, yeah. Let's talk about modelling stuff. I don't want to talk about this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah, go on.
I'll kick off the more positive note.
Yeah.
I'll take the energy back up a level.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so I finished my Space Marine.
Yay.
Woo!
They're all done.
And
Yeah,
it looks,
I went with a very orthodox approach, a very sort of mainstream Space Marine look. The only thing I could have done that would make it more mainstream is go Ultramarines.
So what one is it? It's a...
So this is Space Wolves.
right.
The only thing is missing is the usual sort of Space Wolves iconography type stuff, the fur coats and the
Teeth.
Yeah, teeth hanging on like necklaces and things and
Runes.
So just to recap, we did this as a little sort of group build between the three of us just to get our mojo back in it and to practice our brushwork.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how much brushwork did you do, Dave?
I did a bit of brushwork. I did a bit, but, using metallizers, it's easy to spray, so I used the airbrush quite a lot. And, of course, Ian was supposed to bring his so we can do a photograph of all three of them together, but so
Oops.
that'll have to wait until next fortnight, and we'll get that up on our Facebook page. But in the meantime, Julian's is up there, and Ian's already posted yours a while back, and I posted a picture of mine. And
yeah, my photos are pretty fuzzy.
Yeah, I know. What's going on with your camera?
Yeah, my camera's just... I bought that camera for video, to be honest. And, yeah, it doesn't seem to be very... It's got like 15 megapixels or something like that. I don't know.
My phone's got more than that.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. Most phones do nowadays. Like, generally, apart from like the lighting and the way it takes in light and, takes the image, and that's better than my phone, obviously, because my phone is just a phone camera. But the phone's got like sharper resolution and all that sort of thing. So, oh well, it's lamentable. But oh well, at least you can't see like the more obvious imperfections on it. It's really nice thumbnails, by the way. Really nice thumbnails. As soon as you click on it, this looks like a bunch of spots. Is what a little bunch of squares.
Yes.
All right. So what have you guys been doing since the last show, Ian? Apart from you dying,
Well, besides, not much really. Did a little bit of photo etch work on the wing of the Marauder, and that's about it.
is it coming along slowly still?
Very slowly. It's very meticulous. Like this, measure twice,
Scribe once.
Measure 3 times. Run a roll of rivets.
Yeah, well, you are a glutton for punishment.
I am, yes.
Yeah,
But that one wing's starting to really look nice now, so I'm happy with that.
cool. Any new purchases?
Yes, I purchased the new Armory models. The Armory's, I think, more known for doing aftermarket gear,
Yep.
and they've recently released the 148 scale Fairy Flycatcher in early and late production.
Which is a bi-wing aircraft
Yeah.
used by the Royal Navy.
This one's early 30s. Nice kit, multimedia, so plastic, resin engine, resin guns, resin exhausts.
Which is a good sort of subject to talk about today, which we've been talking about. Multimedia.
Photo etch, instrument panel and other bits and pieces. So, and some really nice paint schemes.
Name the company again was what?
Armory.
Okay. Yep.
Other kit I bought it's been around for a while. I got myself the Bren Gun 48 scale Yokosuka MXY7 Oka Model 22.
Which was a Japanese piloted suicide
Bomb.
yeah.
Yeah, so this is not the rocket powered one, this is the jet powered one.
And in what scale is that?
148.
Oh, very nice.
So one single sprue. And that's about it.
What made you purchase this one?
It was $20.
Okay, well, yeah, fair enough. Very odd colour scheme.
Yeah, well, it's just that
Just a
grey.
grey,
Colour.
you
Yeah,
like
just that
grey.
grey and a big red stripe that runs across the top of it.
Oh.
And the cherry blossom.
Is that how
on the
you
nose.
aim it?
I presume so, yeah. I don't think they got much training, these guys.
Not a lot. What about you, Julian? What have you been up to?
Well, you mean apart from painting my Space Marine?
Yeah, apart from painting a Space Marine.
Well, not much. Because I was painting my Space Marine.
Okay. No new purchases or anything?
Oh, new purchases? I don't think so. I did sort of have a look at a few things. Came across like a WA website that mostly deals with Gundam type stuff.
Yep.
And they've got like a whole... I found out that they have a whole like used section with lots of armor and other stuff from the WA area.
All right.
Yeah, lots of sort of swap and sell and like started kits and things like that, various types. That was a little bit interesting. I was perusing through there.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have expected it because it doesn't like you look at like their website and it's very Gundam orientated.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like 17 pages of kits, that are not Gundams or anything.
Wow, that's not bad.
What's the address?
Oh, I can't remember something like Big Robot or something like that. I can't remember what it is.
Okay. We'll have to have a look at that later on.
Definitely.
Or Little Robots. One of the two.
It's got robot in it.
Yeah, it's got robot in it, and the little icon's a robot, so whatever. Yeah.
Well, I went and purchased a Bandai Star Wars 1/72nd scale First Order TIE Fighter because I am in the Plastic Posse podcast, do a couple of group builds. One is a T-34/85, which I haven't finished yet because I'm still trying to get some metal tracks for it, which I can't. And their other group build is a Star Wars TIE Fighter. So I finally found one and picked it up, and I'm really looking forward to hooking into that. So that should be fun. Bandai's just such a great manufacturer. Oh, I'm really looking forward to it. And also got myself for the first time some scale colour artist paint. Now, Ian, you used this before. You reckon it's really good stuff?
I think it's the bee's knees.
Comes in a tube.
It's acrylic.
It's acrylic.
You can thin it down as much as you want and it still retains its colour.
And you thin it down with
Water.
Water. Yep.
You can even use it in an airbrush.
Seriously?
Yep.
You'd have to thin it quite a bit to get
Yep.
an airbrush, yeah.
But it still retains its colour.
What do you thin it with?
Just water.
Oh, with water. Okay.
Stuff's brilliant. It's like painting silk.
Is it really that good?
Oh, I love it. I think it's brilliant paint.
And doesn't show any sort of brush marks or anything afterwards?
No. No, I just use it as a glaze.
Yeah,
It
well,
just comes up
if you thin it
beautifully.
down enough, you shouldn't be getting that anyway.
Yeah, well, that's true too. Yeah. What do you mean use it as a glaze?
Well, when I do my figure painting, I usually glaze my colours on. So basically, so it's nearly translucent, and you just build your colour up that way.
Ah, okay. Right.
And that gives you more, it flows, the paint flows better over the curves. You don't get no brush strokes.
Yep.
And it takes a lot longer.
Yep.
But you can build it up and build it up and
Do you ever add any
retarder.
No. Like detergent to break the surface tension?
Not with that stuff, I haven't, no.
I heard it. Like it always seemed like a thing you could do, but I only heard it of someone actually doing it recently.
Yep.
I thought, well, so I guess it is a thing.
I've heard
I hadn't heard of anyone actually doing it before, so I always assumed that. It may sound like a no-brainer. There might be a reason why no one does it, you know. But apparently, someone did it.
Yeah. Wouldn't hurt.
Because you know how, like, when you thin it down a lot, it basically acts like water, and like the surface tension.
It just beads.
Yeah, it just beads. You know.
The initial price is a bit expensive, $9 for a tube, but I'm reckoning
gonna last you a long
tube's going to
time.
last me a long time.
A long time.
Yeah. Yet another quiver in my bow.
Yep. You'll once you start using that paint, you'll like it. It's not bad at all.
Let's get on to some really exciting news, and that is that a certain individual sitting here at the bench help us carry forward and carry off the Moosearoo Cup for a second year in a row.
Yes.
Julian.
Well done, Julian.
Woo!
I didn't realize you were going to be talking about that and talking about me. I thought you were going to shoot up to Ian and go, "Oh, look at this thing that Ian ordered." I was like, "Oh, okay." This thing.
It's just, I got an email from Ian Fraser, who was the chief judge from Heritage Con, and he, both himself and Alan Muriel from IPMS Hamilton. Which, and big shout out to IPMS Hamilton for supporting this.
Yep, thank you guys.
Absolutely.
So Ian wrote in, "Hey guys, just want to thank you and let you know they had a great time with the Moosearoo Challenge. It was definitely a learning experience on many levels, having to judge this. Between COVID lockdowns and delays to switching to a virtual format, we had to figure things out on the fly. Judging a model just from photographs is not as easy as it seems. There are a lot of things that can be highlighted and also hidden in a photo.
That's correct.
And the judges had to keep that in mind as they did their work. That brought up memories from your podcast where some people got upset when judges used piddly little flashlights to see fine detail. These will be the same people who would fill their drawers when they learn in a virtual contest judges use a 52-inch high-definition TV screen to see everything. This year it was worth struggling up a technological learning curve because we got to see a couple of excellent models up close. Even with the high-tech help, the competition was a lot closer than people think. And congratulations to Julian, and well done to Stuart, we might add, from Scale Model Podcast. And that's from Ian. And Ian also writes, "P.S. Dave, you might have to enlarge your studio door to let Julian's new ego into the room."
No, there's none. There's no ego here. It's just a bit of fun between podcasts, between friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just my goal was just to finish the thing because it was such a diabolical kit.
Yep.
I get the impression that the competition was in a similar situation, and that's all
Well, again, we need to profusely thank IPMS Hamilton,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
also the support of Lightspeed distributing. Beg your pardon. Who sponsored this year's challenge?
Thanks, guys.
So
Thank you
was
very
really
much.
well done. Thank you to Alan and also Ian, who are both two of the modelling world's unsung and underrated gentlemen.
Yes.
I've had a couple of beers with them before, and they're a great couple of guys to sit down with. And again, thank you very much. So, with that in mind, hang on, I need something. Here we go. Sound effects. That was the gauntlet being thrown down. Next year's Moosearoo Cup, I hereby include and challenge all the other scale modelling podcasts out there. So we have the Plastic Scale, it's a big Plastic Posse podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Just Making Conversation from the UK.
Yep.
We also have the boys from Tennessee. Beg your pardon, boys from Kentucky, I should say. My apologies, guys. Jeez, they're going to have a crack at me about that. Plastic Model Mojo. And we've also got, who else have we got there? I'm missing one.
Yeah, probably.
No, not probably. They're gonna really lynch me if I don't tell them their names.
Yeah, but I struggle to remember.
Model Geeks podcast, of course. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Well, I'm glad you can remember them because I can't. My memory's not made for these sort of things.
So many great shows around. Anyway, so we are throwing out the gauntlet to all of those shows to be part of the Moosearoo Cup 2021-22.
Yes.
And
just think, guys, you're only going up against Dave.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah, gee, thanks. So that means if we lose, you guys are going to just hang it on me for ages and ages.
Well, yeah, of course we would.
At least for one podcast.
Yeah.
One episode's worth.
Oh, I'm quite sure that I've spoken to the people at IPMS Hamilton, and they're quite happy for us to sort of expand it out. We had a talk before the show about changing the name, but you know what? The Moosearoo Cup is what it started as, so I think it will continue on. And we're going to look forward to see what sort of model kit IPMS Hamilton come up with for us to do the challenge with.
Yeah. When it comes to small competitions like this, I've seen it done where, 1 year a kit that people really struggled with sort of, and like the organisers have the impression of, oh, sorry about that, guys. We'll give you a really nice Tamiya kit next time. But I don't think that's necessarily. I think that's sort of part of the spirit of the competition. Sometimes you got to get a bit of a foul kit once in a while, so that
you push your boundaries.
Yeah. Because it's easy to sort of give up if it was your own kit, But if it's for a competition, and this has been,
and when you have national pride on the line,
national pride, and it's a sponsored event. There's a need to finish it, and you got to deal with that as a challenge, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not just the technical challenges of finishing it to a high standard.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what Alan and Ian and the IPMS Hamilton boys sort of come up with as a kit for the next Moosearoo. So I'm looking forward to the challenge. And as I said, the gauntlet's been thrown out to all the other podcasts. So I know Stuart will definitely be in again. He hasn't got a choice. He has to.
Yep.
But the other ones, we'll see.
He doesn't have a choice.
Well, he doesn't. I mean, he's carrying the weight of Canada on his shoulders, the poor lad.
He is, isn't he?
That's a lot of weight.
Hey.
Sorry.
Sorry, it's a little Canadian joke I threw in there, eh?
Sorry.
Oh, geez. Let's go to have a look at some listener mail. We've got a few that came in. First of all, Kevin Butler wrote in and said, "Hi guys, fantastic podcast. Following on from the episode spanking manufacturers of kit models, one thing that really hacks me off is that some manufacturers do not include pilots in their kits, and it'd be nice to have the choice. Keep up the good work." That's Kevin from Swindon in the UK. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, it's something you don't see that often anymore, is it?
What pilot? I don't know. I don't
Pilot
put that many
figures.
aircraft. Well, you know what? I can guarantee you don't get pilot figures in 1/144th scale aircraft or in 1/350 scale or 1/200 scale aircraft.
No, you don't.
It just doesn't happen, so it's not a worry.
But still, it's one of those things. Well, I remember when I was a kid, you used to buy a model kit, always came with the pilot.
Yeah.
Usually had a massive sinkhole in his chest, but came with the pilot.
Or as a blob, which
Or
is
as
some
a
sort of
blob.
representation of the pilot. Yeah.
Some kits do now. I know Tamiya, they usually put in really nice pilot figures in most of their aircraft.
Do they?
Yeah. It's
I
not
don't know. I
the new Spitfire.
'cause I never
thought had
even
a really
look at
nice-
them, you know?
had a nice figure in it. Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine like the newer kits, but what about the sort of older 90s era kits? Do they have figures?
Yeah. I remember there was one Zero kit you used to be able to buy, and it actually came with all the Japanese guys waving their hats.
Waving their hats.
Yeah.
Okay.
As he's taken off on a Kokotai mission.
Yelling Tora, Tora, Tora.
No, it'd be more Bunzai. But yeah, no, you don't see it anymore. 'Cause I know one guy I know of. He's always on the hunt for pilot figures because he won't build an aircraft unless he puts a pilot in there.
Yeah, I know a guy like that.
Yeah. But myself, I don't because pilots obscure most of the detail in the interior.
Yeah, but I mean, they're wearing most of the detail, in my opinion.
Yes.
It's the seat belts and stuff that
Yeah.
is the look of it. And you don't actually see too much of the rest of the cockpit.
Yeah.
Unless you like really go in there and look for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's better like served if you just go to aftermarket for that.
Yep.
Like there are some, especially now that like sort of 3D printing's coming out. Like especially in 30-second scale, you see it a bit more. There's some good 30-second scale figures out there where they've molded the guy into the seat and he's got some nice resin, details on him.
Yep.
That's always nice.
Yes. If you're going to do it.
Yeah, the trick is finding like a good pose, because you
realistic
don't want the standard, through most of the modeling era where it's like guy with one hand on the
his
stick,
thigh.
the other on his thigh or whatever it is, and he's just looking straight ahead.
Yeah.
That's kind of boring.
Exactly. You want a bit of movement in there.
Yeah, and then you got to wonder about like how do you paint his like if you've got like reasonably high standards, how do you deal with the goggles? You're gonna paint his eyes onto the goggles, or are you gonna paint them grey? you know?
Yeah, you got a point there. Yeah, how are you going to tackle that?
Some of the 35th scale armor stuff from Tamiya will have the goggles as clear sprues on armor, figures, but that's a much larger scale than 48.
Yes, very true.
Victor from somewhere in the US writes in, "Hi guys, I know Julian won't care, but Adventures in Plastic, AIP, have reissued the Ashima Thunderbirds model kits, which this got me thinking about the original series. So watching the Thunderbirds or Captain Scarlet or any of the old Anderson series, you can see detailed weathering on the vehicles and buildings. It appears to me that most of this was done with dry brushing. But if you think about it, they had to crank these sets out 20 or so episodes per season. Now, when I rewatch these shows with my son or daughter, I'm focused on the modelling involved. As modellers, have you ever watched these shows with an eye towards the modelling and the weathering details? Thanks for all the great content from Victor."
Yes, I have actually.
Yeah, I do too, when I get to see him.
Yeah.
And from time to time, I'll sort of catch an episode and go, "Oh, geez." And, look back at what they did. And it was back in the 60s.
Yep.
That was just...
Oh, it was groundbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely groundbreaking.
And the amount of detail they were getting in, mind you, I'm just trying to think of what sort of scale they were using.
Super marionette scale.
Yeah. Well, they weren't small kits, so sort of
No.
quite large. So, well, models, really. They weren't kits, were they? They were models.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Great shows, though. It brings back so many memories. It really does.
Totally agree, Dave.
Now, D writes in, "Hi Dave, just a quick note to express some thanks with the podcast. When you think that what you broadcast isn't being absorbed, this is proof that it is." And Dee has submitted some photos of her models that she's done, and they're showing extremes of our influence. She did a model of the Italian M40-75, which was constructed before she started listening to the podcast, and an SDK FZ223, which was finished this afternoon. She says, "Thanks so much for all the hints, knowledge that you pass on from the experience, and also congrats to Julian for keeping the Moosearoo Cup where it belongs."
Hey.
This from D.
Thank you, D.
Oh, thank you.
And it's great to see him watch a model sort of progress, and the fact that D sort of sent us photos of her pre-podcast model that she did and the one sort of that she's just finished. I don't want to claim any credit for that. The only thing I will say is that perhaps we help sort of spur somebody on to sort of step beyond her normal boundaries and comfort zone.
Yep.
And those kits look really good, too. So well done, congratulations.
Well done.
Okay, Paul Redding writes in, hello, just been listening to your podcast, and I think that your correspondent had a point, and this is talking about our previous discussion on us knocking kit manufacturers. Paul had just come back in the building for the last 2 years, having done quite a bit of modelling back in the 70s and 80s, and he's found that using scale mates a lot and focus on subjects to see who made what helps him sort of get a good idea as to what to buy and having a good example of who's built it and what sort of issues will come in. Paul actually wrote a really detailed sort of email, so I'm just sort of paraphrasing on some of the things he's written in. He also had to smile on our comment by Ian about frog kits. He bought an old Lubina Hydro from a local hobby bookstore and only had the instructions in Russian. And a quick check on Scale Model SMC revealed that it was an old frog kit. And, of course, it was a fairly basic build. But, of course, he was very nostalgic in when he was actually built it. It took him back to the 70s and a similar amount of enjoyment that he had back then without mentally having been overtaxed to sort of build the kit. So, in summary, he's saying our correspondent has a point, but it's horses for courses, and his advice is to focus on the subject first and then see what's out there. To paraphrase Ian, Scalemates is your friend, and a little time checking stuff out and learning will help you to bring you to an informed choice.
Yep.
At the end of the day, the trick is to enjoy what you build. If some kits are poor, then it's a learning curve, and to stay away from them. And his ICM U-boat was a good example of that. But variety can also be good and good for a change of scenery. That's cheers from Paul.
I think a lot of us have been stung by the spontaneous buy.
Oh yeah, we all have.
And then gone, I should look this up on Scalemates.
Yep.
I wouldn't have bought it if I'd known.
And we all carry our phones with us, so we can do that while we're in the shop.
Yeah,
but usually when you're in the shop, that's the last thing you're thinking of doing because there's like kits all around. Just like
shiny.
Yeah, shiny. Yeah, like a lolly shop.
Yeah, but even me, like I get my phone out for the smallest things. Like I'll have a conversation with someone, and they're like, someone will say, "Oh, I wonder like what that would cost." I'll just whip out my phone and immediately look it up. But when I'm in a model hobby shop, it doesn't occur to me to really. It doesn't immediately occur to me to whip it out and make sure that what I'm buying isn't something from the 1970s.
Yeah, I'm still pissed at that Canadian bomber that I bought, the CL415 water bomber, and it's an artillery boxing and everything. And I opened it up and there was a hella kit. I'm still upset about that.
Hella kits. Yep.
I'm just still. Oh, anyway. Let it go, Dave. Breathing. Breathe out.
To be honest, I really wish Hella would dry up and disappear.
Well, if you want to do a HMAS Melbourne aircraft carrier, they're the only sort of gig in town at the moment.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. If they dried up and disappeared, someone would suddenly go, there's no manufacturer for that subject anymore. Maybe I'll step in. And, then you'd have someone else cover it in a better way.
Yep.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe how much French armour and lots of French subjects done by Hella because they're French, And you want to do them, but then you're like, oh, the only person who does it is Hella.
Yeah.
I guess I'll have to put that one out of my mind and find something else to make.
But we don't really want to see or advocate that a manufacturer does go away and dry up because that just reduces the gene pool ever so slightly.
No, some manufacturers, however small and however bad, are still maintain a good enough presence that you can make that case where they should stick around. Hella's not one of them. It's almost impossible to come across a Hella kit to begin with nowadays.
Mm. Yeah, they're pretty rare out here.
Yeah, they're super rare. And then you see one, you're like, is that Hella? I've heard rumours about how bad these things are. How
Yeah.
bad is it? And you look open the box and that's pretty bad.
Yes.
It's like finding a frog kit. Actually, I'm more likely to find a frog kit, and they're not around anymore.
True.
We got an email from Archie Somerville from Scotland, and Archie writes, "Hi guys, thanks for the awesome podcast. I was curious what branch of Guns paint that you guys use. When I Google Guns, it comes up with the Mr. Colour range. Is Guns pre-thinned? So is it the Mr. Hobby Aqueous that you use, or do
Yes.
you use Unicorn Tears to thin Mr. Colour paints?" It's from Archie.
I use the Mr. Colour,
Yep.
Hobby Colour. Yeah, Hobby
No,
Colour.
you use the Mr. Hobby one.
Mr. Hobby, yes.
Mhm.
Mr. Hobby.
So Mr. Hobby is the aqueous line,
Correct.
and Mr. Colour is the lacquer line.
Yes. So
Right.
I use the Mr. Hobby.
They both have the same bottles, and the only difference is usually,
The smell.
well, the aqueous line have a H in front of all the codes.
Yep.
And
The other ones have a C.
sometimes they have a C, or sometimes they just have the number.
Yep.
And you can thin them both with unicorn tears,
Yes.
as they say. The Mr. Leveling Thinner, it's their product. It's made for their paint more than anything else, isn't it? And you can use them interchangeably. They're
Yep.
almost like identical levels of performance.
Yep. Yep. No, you hit the nail on the head there.
Yep. The difference being that depending on what country you're in, you may not have access to the aqueous line. I know North America, it's near impossible to get a hold of it unless you get it in from overseas.
It's not easy to get it over
Yeah.
there, apparently.
But here, everyone in Australia is very familiar with the aqueous line,
Yep.
and a lot of people know that the lacquer version exists, but don't really come across it because it's not really sold in local hobby shops.
No. No, it's more one you can buy online.
Yeah. But, there are certain colours that are only available in one line and not the other. Especially like because they also released a number of these sort of like colour packs. Like they have
Yeah,
one
yeah, I've got the
for
couple
various
of-
ship colours and things like
Yep.
that. And you can't buy them by themselves. You can only buy them in those packs. Like some like haze grey or whatever it is for US Navy ships.
Azure blue.
Yeah, and azure blue, which is the underside on,
Mediterranean.
allied Mediterranean scheme. But so you got to look out for that because there are colours in those packs that you won't find in either the aqueous line or the Mr. Colour line by themselves. I think that covers it. It's pretty comprehensive, isn't it?
I'd say so.
And the last,
There's also one third line. They brought out that accretion, or whatever it's called. It's like the word acrylic with SION on the end.
All right.
Yeah, it's like their new sort of very very like water-based acrylic. Like to compete with Vallejo or something like that.
I haven't heard of that one yet.
Vallejo. Yeah. It's based. Yeah, that's a new line, and obviously it's got less range than the other two because it's so new. But
Yep.
yeah, I haven't heard much. It's not around. It's not very accessible. But I think they wanted to compete with the sort of non-toxic. For more kids. to
Like the
get
Games
into.
Workshop paints.
Yeah, easier for kids to get into.
I think most of my Mr. Hobby stuff is the aqueous one with the H designation in front of it.
Yeah, and yes, to answer your question, it is not pre-thinned.
No.
Yes, correct.
No, you need to thin it.
You need to thin it. All right. Last one, and we finally, the Falcon has written in. So if you recall, ladies and gentlemen and listeners, last episode we heard nothing from the Falcon. He was incognito, but what it turned out was he had some internet issues apparently, hence not being able to write in last episode.
So someone cut the power to the Falcon cave.
Or he didn't pay his bill.
Got the power to the Falcon cave.
No, Falcons live in nests.
Yeah.
They live in a
Or an
nest.
airy.
No, not this one. He lives underground, apparently. He lives in a cave now.
Okay, so the Falcon writes in, hi Dave, Ian and Julian, and a special Falcon hello to Marty from Surrey. Oh, that's very cryptic.
Yeah. Hello, Marty from Surrey.
Marty from Surrey, you'll have to write into us at onthebench64@gmail.com just to let us know who you are. Anyway, the Falcon says still dealing with internet problems, but we'll push on. New aircraft announcements. Valom have announced. I've never heard of them before.
I have, yes.
VALOM.
Yeah, they've been around for a bit.
Have they really?
Yep.
They've announced a 1/72nd scale Curtiss C-46 transport aircraft. Oh, that'll really...
C-46.
Yeah, the Commando. That'll really... he'll get that. Kentucky Dave will definitely be getting one of them.
Yeah?
Yeah, he
Why
loves
is
his 72nd scale aircraft.
Ah.
The first boxing will be US Navy and US AAC, US Army Air Corps. Several boxings will also follow. There's going to be a C-46D with Operation Varsity, one with decals for the Air National Guard and one for the Israeli Air Force. So, gee, that's going to be interesting, isn't it? Some great choices there. And apparently we're getting another 1/72nd scale French experimental aircraft from Micromere. This time it's going to be the SNCASO Divas, somewhat reminiscent of the Focke-Wulf Triberflügel.
I know that thing.
The main difference
what
being
scale?
in 1/72nd scale.
Bummer.
The main difference being that the wings with engines on the ends don't spin around the fuselage. Apparently, Micromere are also working on a 1/72nd scale Belayev DB-LK bomber prototype. This is a late 30s twin-engined kind of flying wing that some says looks like the bat plane. Quite a respectable performer. It almost made it to production, was perhaps just a bit too unconventional for the Soviet Air Force at the time.
Is that the thing that's got the feathers painted on it?
I don't know. No. Micromere are also showing CAD renders of a 1/72nd scale Martin XB-51, which from my memory was a ground attack aircraft, very early version that the Americans were looking at back in the 50s. IBG models are expecting a release in 1/72nd scale of the PZL P.11C in May.
That's interesting. So they recently released the 32nd scale one, and that was that's a really nice kit. Especially if you're a 32nd scale modeler, you'll get a nice, fairly small prop fighter.
Yep.
Lots of detail. There's already, and this is a recent release, there's already a 72nd scale one of these in the market from Armour Hobby.
Right.
And even though they make, I think it's Armour Hobby. It might not be Armour Hobby. In any case, I looked into it. I considered buying it, but it's not really my scale. I was going to do it for the competition thing, and it looks like the wings look terrible. Like because they've got like these crinkle cut like tiles for the wings, and they just basically just make it like a like a chessboard.
Oh, yuck!
Yeah,
that's a shame.
And
so hopefully they do a better job on this one.
Yep.
IBG, is it IBG? Yeah, IBG. Yeah.
Answer plastic kits. I've never heard of them.
Ants.
Answer. ANSWER. Answer plastic kits.
No, Answer.
Never heard of it.
Well, apparently their Answer plastic kits were showing box art for the first of a family of 1/72nd scale PZL TS-8s buys or Bs trainer aircraft.
Biz.
Don't know what the type, but it's quite an attractive little plane, somewhat like a radial engine Chipmunk. Okay. Bronco models have shown CAD renders for a 1/48 scale Cheer type seaplane. Another one I hadn't heard of. It looks a lot like a Curtiss Jenny. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about the kit is that Hobby Easy have it on pre-order for around $12 Australian. That's got to be a misprint. 1/48 scale aircraft. It's got to be. Maybe don't know. That's interesting. $12.
That's cheap as
For a
chips.
48 scale aircraft. I think maybe the Falcon it should be around 120. You'd think, wouldn't it? Anyway, we'll
It's
find out.
Hobby Easy.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. Moving on, Eastern Express have shown sprues for a 1/48 scale Convair CV990 Coronado airliner. Supposed to be ready for release by Easter, so may already be out. And Eastern Express are also going to release a 1/144th kit of the Boeing B707-120, the first prototype. So that'll really get the aircraft guys, all airliner guys, very excited. Rodin's re-entry into the 132nd scale arena will occur later this month with the release of their all-new Spad 8.
That's a Spad 13.
Beg your pardon, Spad 13.
About time.
Oh, I thought,
Gonna see a
I
decent.
thought it was a V.
Hopefully it'll be a nice kit.
Well, it's Rodin, so maybe not.
Well, the Falcon says, let's hope Rodin can take up where Wingnut Wings left off.
Let's hope so, yeah.
HBH models have floated the possibility of a 148 scale Dornier DOX flying boats.
Oh, that'd be nice. In what scale? 48.
Yeah.
Geez, that'd be a nice kit in 48 too.
They need to get at least 20 pre-orders before they'll proceed. So if you always dreamt of a 148 scale DOX, it's time to put up some cash.
Big silver thing with lots of engines.
Yeah. Special Hobby will release a second boxing of their 172nd scale Tachikawa KI-54 Hickory. The new kit will be the Otsu version, the one with the dorsal gunnery training turrets. Gas patch models 148 scale Messerschmitt ME163 Comet is due for release in the next few days. Given Gas Patch's track record, I think that we can expect something pretty special. If you have to have one now, you'll be able to order it directly from Gas Patch Models' website. Wingsy Kits 148 scale ME109E-1 is getting ever closer to release. Wingsy was showing pics of a test shot of it being built up. Feedback from Knowlesville posters was favourable. ICM have shown CAD renders for their much-anticipated 148 scale B26K Counter Invader. Again, the feedback was positive.
That's getting a lot of buzz. Everyone's been waiting for that one.
That's Korean War, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would have thought that's something you'd be interested in.
Oh, I like the invaders. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're very nice.
Yeah, it's got little like pod
Is that-
things on the wing tips.
Yep.
Mm.
Is that the one with the gun nose or the bombardier nose? I can't remember.
Didn't they paint them all in black for the Korean War?
I'm not sure. It depends on. Like the one that everyone talks about is Special K because it's a B26K, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that thing's all in like bare metal or something like that.
Yeah. Let's move on to military vehicles. Mini Art taking a slight break from the usual weekly release of yet another T-34 85 variant and have instead announced a new 135th scale kit of a cart with vegetables.
Cool. A vegetable cart. That's what you need.
Well, people forget that they are the company that makes a lot of diorama.
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Just think ICM bought out an outhouse.
Yeah, well, that's true. Takem have shown box art for two new kits, a US T-29 heavy tank and a 1+1 kit of a Panzer 1A and a Panzer 1B. That's right, two kits in one box. Is there much difference between the Panzer 1A and the Panzer 1B?
I don't know.
It'd be interesting. Well, that's a good idea putting the two kits in the one box. I reckon
They do it a lot with their 72nd scale stuff.
Yeah, you're right. They do. They did that. Was it the Chieftain tank and a warrior or something?
They also did that sort of big, wide military truck that the Russians use for towing various things. He did a double boxing of that.
It's good marketing
Two
strategy.
of the same kit in
Yeah.
the one box. And it's like, I'm not sure why you would want to build two of those, but if you do, TechCom have got you covered.
Yeah.
Academy have just announced a new tool, 135th Panzer II OS FF. If it is up to their standard, the recent Panzer 3, it should be pretty nice. AFV Club, this has got me excited. AFV Club have a couple of variants of previous releases in the works, both in 135th scale. The first one's going to be an IDF quarter-ton 4x4 anti-tank missile M38A1/CJ5 Ovary. And
Rev.
Thank you. And they've also shown the box art for the Australian version of the M113 APC. Woohoo! And it looks really, really good. And that's going to be a bit of a buzz online from the guys who build Aussie cars because it looks like they've really nailed it. So very excited about that.
Cool.
IBG models are planning to release several military kits in May. The first one is 72nd scale kits, which will include a Japanese Type 95 Hago light tank and a Chevrolet C60S petrol tanker. There are 3 135th scale kits they're bringing in. One's an Italian 3RO truck, 90/53 ammo carrier, a Polish WZ14/19 100mm howitzer, and perhaps most excitingly, a Polish 7TP twin turret tank early production version.
Polish tanks. They're in short, they're not really covered. So seeing it in 35th scale is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Zvezda's 1/72nd scale Kolitsaya. My Russian's releasing me. Anyway, it's an SV SPG, which is nearing release. They've shown pictures, the built-up test shot on their Facebook page, and it looks pretty good as well. Also quite big, says the Falcon. Ace Model will add to their range a 1/72nd scale AMX-13 variant with an AMX-13 DCA self-propelled anti-aircraft gun. Trumpeter are finally about to release a 135th scale kit of the P40/1512 long track S-band acquisition radar. It's a very impressive looking vehicle with a massive revolving radar aerial mounted on a tracked truck.
Oh, I know the thing. That was really cool. Yeah.
This was announced a couple of years ago, so it's good to see it finally making it to plastic.
Imagine the photo it should be going through to do that radar.
So basically, in the past, what you had to do is you had to buy the short version, which is basically like a truck cab mounted on a T72 or whatever it is
Chassis.
And then you had to buy an expensive resin and photo etch thing that would lengthen that.
Yep.
It gave you 4 new wheels to add on for the extra length. And then you had to build this gigantic photo etch radar
to go on top of it.
Array thing that goes on top, and it's the length of the vehicle, and it's huge.
Yeah,
and it was a really impressive kit, and those photos got around the internet quite a bit. And everyone's like, "Oh, it's cool. How do I build one of those?" And then they found out how much it costs and like how much work you would have to do, and they're like, I think I'll not do that. And Trumpeter's come out with an alternative.
Lovely.
Also from Trumpeter is a 35th scale Russian S-300V 9A85 surface-to-air missile system. T-64BM Bulat, which is a Ukrainian upgraded Soviet T-64B main battle tank. And finally, a 135th scale US M920 tractor tow with an M870A1 semi-trailer. Not to be left out, Hobby Boss have announced also 135th scale, a Romanian TACAM T-60 self-propelled anti-tank gun. Using Hobby have announced another T-72 variant in 135th scale. Jeez, there's a lot of Russian tanks coming out. The latest latest kit will represent a T-72 M2, a modern Slovakian main battle tank. Civilian vehicles news. BMAX will be releasing a 1/24th scale Audi A4, which is the BTTC British Touring Car Championship version 1996. Italy have just shown CAD renders for the upcoming 1/12th scale Lancia Delta Integrate. It's supposed to be out
Lancia
soon.
Delta Integrale.
Oh, there you go. And Meng have announced a second Ford GT40 kit, this time in 1/24th scale. Good news for people who have neither the space nor the cash for the 1/12th scale kit.
124 GT40. Is it a Mark 1, 2 or 3?
Doesn't say. Have to go to the Meng website and have a look.
I suspect
Could be the
it
Mark
would be
1.
the same as the current one
I think it's a Mark 1
in 1/12th scale.
One that won Le Mans.
Possibly.
Ken Miles one is the one they do in 1/12th scale.
Yeah, I think that's Mark 1.
That's it from the Falcon.
So no new ships?
Oh, well, you have news of a new ship, which you've just recently purchased.
I haven't got it yet, but I have purchased. It's on its way from Russia.
Yes.
And that's the new HMAS Bernie, which is a Bathurst-class minesweeper in 1 to 350 scale.
Made by
Ooh.
the company that makes it.
It's not Combrick?
No, Combrick.
Trying to remember who makes it.
Oh, we'll have to get back to you with that.
I'll have to get back to that one. Yeah, I can't remember who makes it, but yeah, it's multimedia.
Yep.
So resin, photo etch, turned brass barrels, turned brass masts. So and our good friend Callum, who we had on our very early episodes, he did a lot of the legwork on
To get it up and running.
to get it up and running. So so to help him out and help Boris out, I decided I'll get one of them. Not cheap.
No.
Close to about $170 Australian
Yeah.
for something that's going to sit in the palm of my hand. But where else are you going to get a 1/350 scale Bathurst class minesweeper?
Yep.
And apparently I was talking to Callum over the week, and you can do 3 different variants from that ship.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, so hopefully
Total of
that
about
comes in.
70 of them were made. 65 were made in Australia or something like that.
Yeah, there
during
was a
the war.
lot. Cockatoo shipyards made a heck of a lot of them.
And one of them actually ended up in the Chinese Navy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Would we give it to them, or they pinch it?
No, Australia sort of gave it to the Chinese, and I'm just thinking it was just before China fell to the communists in 1949.
Oh,
And then
right.
it ended up in the People's Liberation Army Navy.
Yep.
Mouthful.
Yes.
Well, that's it for
What's new.
What's new. And of course, if you want to write in, you got anything information, you just want to say g'day, you can send us an email to onthebench64@gmail.com. We love hearing from you. Any questions, any criticism, anything at all.
Yeah.
Just drop us a line and let us know you're out there.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, before we go on and have a talk about multimedia kits, how about we have a quick break? We'll hear from one of our sponsors, and we'll be back shortly. Fine Scale Modeler is the world's most recognised and essential magazine for modelers, and is available in all good newsagents and newsstands, or wherever you purchase your magazines. Alternatively, go to their website www.finescale.com and subscribe to either a print edition or their digital edition. Go now. Go to www.finescale.com. And welcome back. But before we dive into our main subject, talking about multimedia kits, I've got a quick announcement from Jamie E. Adamson, who writes in from Houston IPMS, saying that the Houston IPMS show is going to be held on the 8th of May at Statford Centre, 10505 Cash Road, Statford, Texas. And I think the theme for the show is going to be Wild West. And of course, don't forget to listen to our other podcasts, Just Making Conversation with Malcolm and James, Plastic Model Mojo, the boys from Kentucky with Mike and Dave, Scale Model Podcast with Stuart and friends up in Canada. And, of course, we also have the Plastic Posse podcast. And last but not least, Model Geeks podcast. Drop in, have a listen. When you're on your favourite podcast app, don't forget to leave a rating for all those shows, including ours, of course. It just helps with the algorithms and gets it to more people. So, multimedia kits. What the heck is that?
Well, multimedia is, to me, multimedia kit is a kit that is manufactured that does not just consist of plastic components.
Or not just any one component. It has to be more than one.
More than
right?
one component, yes.
So typically most people can determine it to be like resin and usually lots of photo etch and brass
like
and
an
stuff.
Edward kit, which you're finding a lot of modern manufacturers are going multimedia.
Yeah, technically.
Even like Tamiya nowadays. Like Tamiya nowadays throw in a little photo etch sheet.
See, when I first heard the term multimedia kit, I was expecting a DVD or something to come with it.
Well, that's one way of looking at it. But it's just basically, it's stuff that they throw in there that they know they can't get the same quantity of details you can with plastic injection moulding.
Yeah. Yeah. And Edward have been, you'd have to say, one of the leaders in this, where they do include resin parts, detailing up the wheels, cockpit,
It's
that
usually
type
with
of stuff,
Edward is usually wheels and exhausts.
as well as instrument panels as well.
Yep. And plus all your photo etch they throw in,
Mm.
like your seat belts and cockpit placards and scissors for your undercarriage and so forth.
I think multimedia kits are much more common than people realise.
Yes,
If
lot
you're
more
looking at
nowadays anyway.
Yeah, if you're looking at it in the strictest of terms, But if what most people associate with it is the classic: you've got a resin kit, and it comes with some photo etch,
Yep.
right? Because it's outside the normal bounds of plastic.
Mm.
And I've got like a few of those in my stash,
I
and
think we all
they're
do.
fun.
They
They're
are,
fun.
yeah.
As long as it's good quality resin and you're not fighting it too much.
Mhm.
But some of them can be like one of the sort of brands you often associate with the multimedia kit is the Model Factory Hero cars.
Yes.
All their racing cars and Ferraris and things, and it's all cast
Yes, yeah.
metal
Cast
parts,
bodies.
some photo etch and resin.
Mm-hmm.
There's no plastic involved whatsoever.
No.
Yeah,
None whatsoever.
that's the ultimate in and it's I've heard from people because they're very very expensive kits.
Oh yeah,
right.
Factory
Really,
Hero.
really like. For example, like their 1/12 scale cars will set you back like $1,500. They're big
lot of money.
cars,
Yeah, I
A
know.
lot of
and
money.
you'll find nothing more detailed than that.
Mm.
But speaking to Will Pattinson, who bought like one of their motorbikes,
Mm.
he said he was kind of disappointed with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I imagine it's not what. Like I imagine like you're expecting a certain level of quality, but
Yeah.
you look at what a motorbike is consisted of. It's just poles, isn't it? Poles.
Well,
And rods and
the
stuff.
engine frame,
Yeah.
or the bike frame, I should say, the wheels and the engine and
Mhm.
the tank and the fairing.
Seats.
I think he was disappointed with
Yeah.
the quality.
Huh.
It wasn't up to what he thought it would be.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like you look at the model. Because when you got putting that much money on the line, you kind of want to know what you're getting into,
Mm.
and they'll give you plenty of photos of what these things look like before the paint goes on it. And it all looks really nice. And you're like, I'll have fun with that. Maybe not so much.
I think the first real multimedia kits I ever saw, actually saw with my own eyeballs, was you ever heard of Porsche?
No.
No.
They did the big classic European sports cars
Right, okay.
from, I don't know, the 50s and 60s, and they were multimedia.
Yeah.
Like metal bodies, resin, cast, photo etch, rubber. So basically it's like building the real thing, but in small scale.
Mm, mm.
And to me, those things, they just, they make you push your boundaries, which is what you want. You want to start pushing your boundaries. Because otherwise, I find if you just do the same thing day in, day out, you just stagnate.
So you didn't buy one though? Because it's not your subject.
Not only because I'm not a fan of European sports cars, but just the price on those things was, you may as well go out and buy a real car for the amount you're spending on one of these things.
What scale?
I think they were about 112. They were large
Oh, right.
scale.
Yeah, so
They
they're
were
going
large.
to cost a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big dollars.
Yeah. You have to be like very committed to spend I want the best kit ever of this car.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter to me how much room it takes up.
No. Or how much it's going to cost me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you would hope that you've got your glossy paint skills in proper working order before you put your money
Definitely.
down for one of those, because you don't want
Definitely,
to half-ass that one.
Whereas I do know with some of the Model Factory Hero kits, the bodies come pre-painted.
Really?
Yeah.
I have not heard of that.
Yeah, I saw a Bugatti that was already painted in its blue. In the proper factory Bugatti dark blue.
Okay. Yeah.
Multimedia kits, the pros and cons. So the pros are that you don't have to go and buy any aftermarket stuff.
Pretty much no. It's
technically,
all there.
it's
pretty
all
much
there
should be
for
all
you.
there. Yep.
Yeah. Whereas, and let's look at, say, a ship kit, for example. If you just get the basic kit, you've got to go out and buy all the photo etch for it, all the brass barrels for it, and Ian, you and I know that you can end up spending twice as much as the actual kit
6
costs.
times
That's the
as much,
thing.
yeah.
You don't have to. A lot of people out there will go off and they'll buy their Tamiya 1350 Bismarck or whatever it is. Whatever it is, I don't know. I'm not familiar with the ship kits that are out there like you guys are. But they'll go out and they'll buy that thing and they'll hose it down with a rattle can or something, and it'll look fine. It'll look okay, and it won't be up to our standards, but it'll be fine for them, right? Maybe there's still quite a lot of models out there that don't want to bother with photo etch.
Yeah.
Right, and that's fine. They can have a fun with their regular Tamiya extras then, and it'll be fine. But we're not talking about those sort of people. We're talking about like multimedia kits meant to appeal to someone who doesn't mind going off the road of plastic.
Correct.
To begin with, even like a little bit of photo etch, even though that classifies as multimedia, that's not really what it's about.
Because photo etch is pretty common now.
Yeah,
anyway.
it's common. It's commonplace now. Very commonplace, and especially since Tamiya do it with most of their kits now. So, you have to be willing to deal with resin. I think dealing with multimedia kits is associated with resin for the most part. And that means using super glue.
Yep.
And that means when you're cleaning the parts up, you've got to pay particular attention to the fact that...
you're dealing with a very dangerous substance.
Yes.
Well, I mean, the other thing is that you're probably going to have to go off and buy a new tool. You're going to have to go buy a saw.
Yep.
Because you're going to have to cut it off the casting block.
Yep. And a respirator.
Yeah. So when the first time you come across resin, you're like, well, I can't do this with what I have. I have to go buy a saw of some kind. 'Cause let me tell you, as a newbie who was touching resin for the first time,
It's daunting.
Cutting something off a casting block, and those casting blocks are not in very logical places sometimes.
No, sometimes they can be in real awkward places, yes.
Yeah, so rather than, like, for example, I came across the cockpit floor, which is potentially like a flat slab,
Yeah.
right? Not much to it. You would think that they would put the casting block on the end.
No,
No.
they put it on the bottom.
They put it along the entire bottom.
Yep.
It was so the casting block is the same, is actually larger in surface in actual area and volume than the part that you're cutting off of it. And of course it's like trying to slice cheese, except you're slicing it horizontally.
Yes.
You know, you don't have a lot to hold on to while you're.
No.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, know all about it. So is it, so it's a time-saving thing, getting a multimedia kit, because as I said, you don't have to then go out and source all the additional parts that you want to bring the kit up to the same level as you would get with a multimedia kit. Mm-hmm. So technically everything's there, all in the box, ready for you to go, except for the paint and the
potentially
glue.
much higher detail.
Yeah.
But you're introducing, because you're going off the road of plastic kits, you're introducing more risk of poorly shaped parts, I think.
Well, resin can sometimes be a little bit hit and miss. You can get resin parts that are very well cast, and you can get resin parts that, got all bubbles and everything in it,
Yep.
which...
Well, we don't see bubbles much these days, but you do get still like shrinkage issues.
Flash issues.
Yeah, because resin has a tendency to shrink.
Yeah. I even saw a thing recently where someone had ordered a replacement spinner from Eduard Brasson for the Eduard 109G, I think it is.
Right.
And the actual, so it's got the back plate and hub as one piece, and then you've got the spinner, the actual nose portion that goes on top of it.
Yep.
And they weren't the same size.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was like a millimeter of difference all the way around.
And see, and that's why plastic kits generally are made from polystyrene. Mm-hmm. Just the same as rulers are made from either wood, metal, or plastic styrene. Polystyrene. Because polystyrene, its shrink rate is minimal. Hence the reason why you don't get other sort of plastics that are potentially used in model making.
Yes.
But all of this is a moot point, because all you have to do is have decent quality control. right? Because it's not like we don't get
yeah.
warpage
Yeah.
and shrinking with plastic. It's
Correct.
just that you're supposed to have good quality control to
Yes.
filter that crap out.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like you can always melt the plastic back down, right?
Yes.
Grind it up in little pieces, feed it back into the machine. I'm sure there's something like that that's available.
Well, I used to work in the plastics industry, and indeed that there is, and there's a grinder. So all your offcuts, you grind down to small granules, and you can feed it back.
Yeah,
in.
because it was my understanding that canopy plastic is clear, so it has to be like the first time use.
Yep.
It can't be like recycled,
No.
like the other coloured stuff can.
Oh, yes and no to a point, because when you heat that clear stuff up, it's the way the polymers come in chains and direct lines.
Yeah.
Hence the reason why you can see through it. When you're using something like polyethylene, for example,
Okay.
when that cools, when that first comes out hot out of the extruder, it's actually clear. You can see through it. But as it cools, the plastic, the chains within that makes up the link of the plastic actually start go all sort of curly, and that's what makes it opaque afterwards.
Okay.
How's that for a bit?
You can't just. Yeah. Well. Yeah. I mean.
But so you could reuse canopies, for example, if you grind it up and put it back through the machine again. I don't see any issue with that.
As long as you kept it separate from the other stuff.
Oh yeah, you can't mix it in with the other stuff. No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, anyway, we're getting a bit off track here.
We are a little bit, but a little bit of manufacturing.
Yeah, but so like it's not like you can't get shrinkage and warpage issues with that. You can fix warpage issues with plastic to some degree, and it's much easier to fix it with resin, right? You just throw it in hot water and all that.
Resin's very pliable.
Yeah, you can do that with plastic too. But like I said, it all comes down to quality control.
Yes.
All you need is that actual checking process in place, and you can avoid all this sort of problem. But they don't do it a lot of the time, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about it right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have to say, when it comes to multimedia kits, I'm more inclined to buy, say there's two kits next to each other. Let's use an ME109, for example.
Yep,
So
sure.
one's just a straight shake and bake plastic kit.
Like an Edward Weekend edition.
Yeah. And then you got the
Profi Pack,
which comes as a multimedia kit.
Correct.
I'm more inclined to buy the Profi Pack than I am to buy the shake and bake weekend one.
Me too.
Well, I think we all would, because this comes with more schemes. I mean, the whole weekend edition thing is like you only get like one or two schemes, right?
It's not just one or two schemes. Because it doesn't have all the additional stuff, it's supposed to promote a quicker build, so you get something
But you know
pushed
what?
out faster.
You know what's good about the flexibility in the build process on those kits? Because you can opt out of the resin or the photo etch and just use the plastic.
Yes.
Yes.
Whereas in a dedicated multimedia, what most people can think of as a multimedia kit, you don't have any option. If it says to use the resin thing or the photo etch thing, then that's what you have to use.
Yes.
There's no
Yeah,
alternative.
just like this new flycatcher model I've got.
Yeah. And if you've got
If I want to use the resin, I use the resin. Otherwise, I don't have an engine.
Okay, right, yeah.
And with an exposed engine like this aircraft does,
Yep.
I've got no choice.
Yeah. And like, I think we've all been there where we've bought like an aftermarket like photo etch kit or something like that and gone, you know what, I think I'll just use the plastic one or a combination of the two.
Yep.
Rather than just the photo etch replacement, because it's really not.
Because look, photo etch is great, but photo etch also has its limits.
Yes.
Because a lot of people companies use photo etch like to do framing and stuff. Well, we know that like a seat framing is not going to be a flat thing. It's going to be tubular. So using photo etch for that is like a moot point.
Yeah, and they'll make up this ridiculous thing where like, oh, build this box out of photo etch. It's like, why would I build a box out of photo etch when I can just take the one detailed side of it that's in the photo etch and then just cut that off and slap it on the piece of plastic?
Yeah. It looks exactly the same. And it's going to be a lot more rigid.
Yeah. And I'm not going to have stupid seam lines on every edge.
Yes, that you need to solder
every corner,
and solder
It's
and
like,
file.
oh, no. Stuff that.
Yes. A lot of
And
fun.
what happens when you got like a resin one? It's not like it's not the right size, or you've made a mistake cutting it off the casting block.
Oh.
Where you know what I find cutting resin parts off of casting blocks.
What's that, Julian?
I employed like the mindset that I learnt when I was in high school of cutting wood with a handsaw.
Mm-hmm.
You know, woodworking
Yes.
class. Because, you know, like if you don't keep an eye on keeping your saw
Straight.
square and straight, that you're going to end up veering off to one side and cutting into the area that you don't want to cut into.
Yes.
It's all right if it goes away, but if it goes in,
You're
then
in trouble. Yes.
you've mucked up your part.
Yes.
And multimedia kits can be extremely cost effective too, and I think we touched on this earlier on, where particularly, say, if you're building, well, anything really, if you go and buy those multimedia parts like the resin or the photo etch separately, it's going to cost you a lot more than buying them all in one hit with the actual kit.
Yeah, I get
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was wondering where you were going with that. Yeah, specifically multimedia kits that are all encompassing. Yeah,
Yes.
you'll get a better deal than if you bought the aftermarket separately.
Much more value for money.
Yeah, I certainly like a lot of the Edward stuff with the little resin bits and pieces. If you buy those pieces separately, you're probably going to end up with a lot.
Oh, it costs
lot
you a heck of
bigger
a lot
cost,
more.
yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, and I said it earlier on, Ian and I well know the trap of buying, you know, a ship model and then going and purchasing the aftermarket stuff with it. You can,
Especially if the aftermarket is made by the same company that makes the ship model, and then
Well,
you're paying through the nose.
Perfect example is the kit that I started before the whole Moosearoo thing, the little hydrofoil.
yeah.
That's a multimedia kit. That's all resin and photo etch.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's got some turned aluminium and turned brass elements in it as well.
Yep.
That's probably more multimedia than anything else.
Mm.
Well-
And that was a steal, $50 for a 1/350 scale ship that's
Yeah.
involving all that.
Mm.
Yeah. But then you look at something like I think it's Trumpeter does it, the Royal Navy Ark Royal Aircraft Carrier. Is it Trumpeter does that?
I think so.
I think so. And so that kit alone is about $250 just for the kit. To go and buy the photo etch, you're looking at least another $280 just for the photo etch to go on top of that, which is, you know, it's a real commitment.
Well, with this hydrofoil of mine,
Which I've also got that kit.
Yeah. If let's consider for a fact that if there was like a plastic version where you had to add in all the extra turned brass and photo etch elements, it would be something like $20 for the kit. It would be another $20 for the turned brass. It'd be another $20 for the photo etch. The photo etch might be broken down into two separate packs so that you've got like one for the antennas and things like that, and then one separate one for other stuff. You know, this is how they often break down photo
Correct.
etch, right?
Yeah.
Especially for ships. It's like, oh, you've got like the lower part and you got like the upper part, and you got like, oh, here's the one for the deck and there's another one for that.
Yeah,
And-
funny, I know exactly what you mean. Edward do that with their photo etch for the...
yeah, they do inside and outside.
No, I actually even got an better one. For the P61 Black Widow.
Yeah.
HPW, what the
Oh, Hong Kong models.
Hong Kong models kit.
Yeah.
You get a forward cockpit photo etch and you get the rear cockpit photo etch.
And you got to buy them separately.
You got to buy them separate. So you can deck out the front of your Black Widow,
Yeah.
or you can deck out the back.
Well, see, that's like that with the Edward Profa packs and things like that. You'll get like color photo etch for the cockpit, but they won't give you any other photo etch. So if you want to get
No.
like the flaps and things going,
That's
you
a
know,
separate thing, yeah.
that's a separate photo etch set.
Engines separate, yep.
You have to, you know, if you want to go the whole hog, you have to buy all this extra stuff.
Yep.
Clever.
Yes.
But I mean, like
Clever marketing strategy.
Clever marketing, yeah.
Yeah, but it's better to opt in than to have to buy the whole thing. Like, let's say, like, you bought every bell and whistle for Edward's Focke-Wulf.
Mm-hmm.
That's an expensive amount of stuff. You know,
Oh, yeah.
you'd have to buy like the Profa Pack kit to start off with,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't cheap. Yeah, I mean, it's good value for money, but it's still not cheap. You know, it'd
Yep.
be like $50 or some crapo. I'm guessing. I'm pulling a number out of my ass, but let's say it's $50. But then you'd have to buy the resin engine, which includes like photo etch and stuff. Then you'd have to buy the resin cockpit and everything. It just gets away from you very, very quickly.
It does.
But you don't want to buy all of that because, like, you might finish the engine and go, you know what? I've had enough of this. I just want to put the stock cockpit in and call it a day, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So for the newbie out there, I'd recommend them to steer away from a multimedia kit if it's going to be their first or second kit.
Oh, definitely.
Because
it's not something for a new person to begin in.
No.
Unless they're like super talented and they know exactly what they're doing.
No, that's not a matter of talent. It's a matter of experience.
Yeah.
You want to have some experience with a bit of resin by itself, I think, first beforehand.
Or, well, yes and no. But then again, let's say you're an intermediate modeler and you want to give it a crack, then a multimedia kit is going to be the way to sort of test the waters.
Yeah, but are you an intermediate modeler if you haven't touched resin before?
Well, I don't know. We're putting labels on people. We don't know what the skill levels are. So what I'm saying is, multimedia kits are not good for a first-time modeler. But if you've got about 4 or 5 kits under your belt, and you're thinking, I want to step up my game and push myself a bit more, then yes, a multimedia kit would be a great entry level with resin and also with photo etch.
Yes. Whereas, then you'd probably just next kit would be buying an Edward kit.
Because all tanks now, all armour kits come with photo etch. I can't remember the last armour kit that I bought that didn't have photo etch in it in one shape or form.
Yeah, see, if someone was thinking of getting a multimedia kit, I would say to them, as provided they build armour, I would say, okay, buy an armour kit that's not a Tamiya, buy something that's got a bit of photo etch, and then throw some resin stowage on, and then you've got all the experience with all the various materials that you'll ever have to come across for the most part.
Good thinking.
Yeah, that's good.
And as long as you've got like one of those under your belt, go for it. You know, you'll be able to tackle pretty much anything out there in the multimedia space.
Very, very good. Very true. Very true.
I'm just circling back to the idea where we're calling kits that come with photo etch now multimedia kits. I don't necessarily think that's quite true. I would think to call it a true multimedia kit, you got to have...
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's technically multimedia, but it's not what we associate with the term.
Yeah. You've got to have resin and photo etch or electronics. Let's not forget the sci-fi guys where kit manufacturers are now coming out with lighting kits well for the models.
And that's also with a lot of these sort of multimedia kits. I mean, they usually cover like fairly obscure subjects.
Oh no, I wouldn't say that, would you?
They tend to more so because multimedia implies that there's a bit of resin in it, right? And you're not going to find a bit of resin unless it's something that's covered by the small market stuff rather than the big market stuff. But then you're completely
wiping what Edward do with their multimedia kits with their common subjects.
Remember, they're an aftermarket company that evolved into a major company.
Well, that's true, I guess. Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, no, I see your point.
Yeah.
Definitely see your point.
Don't necessarily agree with it.
Can't always agree on everything.
Now, here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
So, if you know what a trans kit is, right?
Yeah, it's something that likes wearing high heel shoes and putting lipstick on.
Boom, boom.
No. No, so you often hear the term trans kit in car kits for the most part.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, you start off with a regular plastic car kit, and then you buy a trans kit, which is a whole bunch of resin and whatever else, and you use it to give it almost an entirely new appearance to turn it into something else.
All right, so a different body.
Yes, so it can be like lots of like for example like a body kit for a car, right? So you've got like new bumpers, some skirts.
Okay, yeah.
Stuff like that. It requires like a certain amount of like heavy changing to the appearance of the car.
Yep.
Yes.
Right.
So a Ford Escort going from a straight Ford Escort to an RS2000.
Yeah, but sometimes you can get them with armor kits as well. Like for example, there was a trans kit type thing where you took a T72 or something like that and you turned it into the one that doesn't have a turret, but instead has like a crane on it. Mm-hmm. It's like almost like a recovery vehicle, but not quite. It's I can't remember who made it, but you don't need to buy it anymore because now Trumpeter makes it in plastic.
Yeah, well, I did the same. I had to do it. I did a trans kit. It was a 48 scale P40, where I changed it to a P40F, which would basically cut the whole nose off and replace the whole nose with an F style resin. It wasn't as hard as I thought it'd be. I thought, well, this is going to be a real challenge. I've got to cut along these lines here and a little step here, and then once you got your whole, then make the two together, and the fit was perfect. No filler required anywhere. It was just perfect. Just went really well.
Isn't that funny? How like you had to graft an entire nose and it all lined up perfectly.
Yeah.
Whereas the Hasegawa kits often have trouble, like for P40s, isn't it? Like, or is it the AMT kit? They can't manage to graft their own plastic tail on without trouble.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You got to do the funny trick where you glue the halves of the tail onto the halves of the fuselage before you close up.
Yeah. That's what I noticed with the P40. That's the P40. You got to make sure, and the rear cockpit section, you got to glue in first. Don't glue it together and drop it in because it won't fit. You got to glue them together and then put a little shim in between the two.
Yeah. So I've got a few trans kits for cars, and
So the word trans must be specifically for the car.
So it's technically
car dudes.
aftermarket, right?
Yeah.
Because you're technically modifying an existing plastic kit.
Yeah.
But a lot of them involve throwing away most of the kit.
Yes.
But does the term trans kit fit into the term multimedia? Is it
I
interchangeable?
think it kind of does, but not quite. It's sort of half.
Because you're dealing with non-plastic material.
Yeah, but to me, a multimedia kit means that I've purchased a kit and it's got everything in it. I don't have to go external to purchase any additional stuff. Whereas with your trans stuff,
see, it's almost the other way
I'm
around.
getting the vibe that you've got to go.
It's almost like the actual plastic kit is the aftermarket for this thing. Because there's often, in a lot of cases, there's not a lot that you actually need. Like, for example, there'll be a trans kit for a car where...
so basically the plastic kit is just a donor kit.
Yeah. It's almost like you're buying the basics. Like, for example, there's a lot of trans kits where the entire body of the car is resin, and the only thing you're really borrowing from the original kit is like the bottom part, the chassis.
Yeah, but again, to me, a multimedia kit it's your one-stop purchase of everything in the one box. If you're having to go and purchase something separate, then it's no longer a multimedia kit.
See, in my
so that's why they call it trans kits and not multimedia kits.
I suppose.
No, I suppose.
But it's multimedia, and then you have to...
Well, it's using the multimedia medium in the sense of multimedia as we discussed.
You just can't finish
resin.
it without the parts from plastic.
Yeah. Whereas I've also got I think it's an AMT P40 kit as well. That it's an F, which is an E version with another resin nose. You've actually got to cut the kit's nose off to replace.
But so long as that came all supplied in the one box, then that's multimedia to me.
Right.
Speaking of multimedia kits, like you've got this Bren Gun Oka on the table here in front of us.
Yeah, that's got a little bit of photo etch.
Does it?
Yep, tiny bit.
Well, I've got the... actually, no, it's not them. It's this Armory Models thing. Yeah, Armory Models. You've got the Fairy Flycatcher. So I've got their... some Russian truck thing that has an anti-aircraft turret mounted on the back of it.
Right.
And that's also multimedia because it comes with a resin engine block and wheels. Like all the wheels. Like normally you have to... I mean, it's 70-second scale, so there's that.
But resin wheels just look so much better than plastic.
Oh, they do, don't they?
Yes. So much better
and like
than plastic.
you kind of... Like the problem is like you always see those wheels and you're like, oh, those wheels look so good. Oh, they really look the part on this truck type thing. And then you go and buy that truck type thing and you look at the wheels and the cost is just too much, you know? You're like, it's just wheels.
Yeah.
Even though they're great wheels.
Cover them in mud.
I mean, because they're huge. Like in 35th scale, they're often like huge wheels.
Yeah.
They're big, like
Especially those big
biscuit-sized
Russian,
wheels.
Yeah,
and
big Russian things.
Yeah, and you just can't justify the cost a lot of the time.
No.
Like, have you ever seen that Czech self-propelled artillery type vehicle called the Dana?
Oh, the Dino, yeah.
Yeah. So you could buy that and then get like resin wheels for it. But they're huge, chunky wheels, and there's so many of them, and that's a big vehicle.
Yes.
That's an awful amount of resin. That's
That's a
going to cost
lot
you
of-
some big dollars.
Yeah, it's going to cost you some big bickies, isn't it?
And it's absolutely like an upgrade on its appearance, a very noticeable one. But how noticeable? Is it worth the cost? And it often isn't.
Yes. Well, I think that's up to the individual then, isn't it?
Yeah, but you have to remember that like half the time when you're buying those things, you're doing it because you saw some cool aftermarket and you're like, I want to use that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you end up building it out of box because you're a cheapskate.
Yes.
I can't say I've ever seen aftermarket that's tempted me to then go and build a kit.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, transkits are basically that for me.
No.
I see those transkits. I'm like, oh, I kind of want that.
Yeah,
Like if someone brought out a transkit for a Lotus Esprit Turbo, I'd immediately go back out and
Buy
look
one.
and scour the internet for another Lotus kit and do the James Bond one.
Yes.
Oh, that's what I want to do.
Yes.
But no one makes one.
Because you're a car dude. That's why.
There's nothing wrong with cars.
Wow,
Nothing
it
wrong with
sounds like you're kink shaming me right there.
I'd never kit shame you, Julian. Never. It would never cross my mind
Well,
to
I
do
said
that.
kink, but that's close enough.
Kink kit. God.
That's a phrase used by the young peoples nowadays. Kink shame.
Is it really? Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I've been educated by a younger generation, Ian.
Yeah, we all do.
Not that
Yep.
young.
Hey,
And
listen, I'm seeing the sunny side of 57 in a couple of weeks' time, so,
Oh, really?
yep.
Hey.
God, where the years go. It's flowing past.
Yeah,
at
I
a
know
great rate.
they do, don't they?
Yeah, the older you get, the quicker time flies.
Yeah.
That's what I found.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Jeez.
I don't know whether I'm having more fun or less fun at 57 than I am when I was, say, 17. Let me think about that for a bit.
I think you are.
well, as a young,
You got a lot less restrictions now, Dave.
well, as a younger guy in the modelling community, where I'm surrounded by guys of your vintage, maybe it just seems that
Guys of my vintage, the cheek. Listen to it.
you just called yourself a 57-year-old. So don't give me that. You can't play both the woe is me as well as the hero, right?
Well, I can be both. I can play the
Not in the
both
same
cards.
sitting. You can't.
Hey, listen, at 57, I can do whatever I damn well want.
But yeah, I mean, it does seem like the last 5 years of me being in the modelling community and meeting you guys and everything that's flown by pretty quickly.
It has. 1 minute it's this young little pup sort of coming through the door, and next minute now look at him.
Yes.
Internationally renowned model builder.
I think
Winner of the Moosearoo Cup.
I think it's flown by like a lot faster than I think it has. It's actually like a lot of time. It's more because I keep thinking it's 4 or 5 years, but I think it's longer than that.
I don't know, probably longer
Because
than that.
I remember like being in the club and meeting you guys for the first time when I think I was like 31 or 32. Now I'm like 38, I think. I try not to look at it because I don't want to be reminded.
No.
Every now and then I have to sort of do the math and like
Yeah, don't
count
do the
backwards
math.
kind of
No,
thing. And
don't do
so
that.
No, it gets scary then.
no, I keep hoping that because this is what I do at work. Like I don't look at the clock and so that the time passes quicker. So because what I want to happen is to suddenly go, is someone to say, oh, what are you doing for the weekend? Oh, it's Friday already? Oh, that's a pleasant surprise. Well, and I want the same thing to happen with my age where I'm like, I'm probably turning 39. Oh, it's 38. Oh, that's not bad, But I don't want it to be, I thought I was turning 39. I'm turning 40, I don't want that to happen. So I kind of don't want to know. I don't want to know about it.
All right. I think at that point we'll wrap
We're
it up.
getting really off topic.
We are getting
We're
well,
very off topic.
When don't we get off topic?
I'll
Very
let you know
rarely.
when it happens.
Yes.
All right, that's it from me. Ian,
As you always know, Photo Etch is your friend.
Julian.
Resin's your friend too, but a pretty bad friend. He probably gets offers you drugs and things like that.
Okay, guys, thanks very much for being with us. We'll be back in a fortnight. Have a great model building fortnight. Catch you later.